So IG Metall has been involved in crowd themes for the last few years. Last year they published a book about the topic just as kind of an opening step in the discussion. What is this crowdsourcing and what is happening, and is anybody doing it in Germany? Is it relevant for German companies? Is it relevant for the big German companies that IG Metall is traditionally, famous for representing? BMW, Audi, Siemens, this kind of stuff. How many crowd workers are there in Germany? So there's a lot of research early, just kind of trying to understand what's happening, who's doing it on the client side, who's doing it on the business side, how this new model of work can be made socially sustainable in the German social system, how the unions can first find out what the interests of crowd workers are and then effectively represent them, whether that means that crowd workers should become members in unions in a traditional sense, or if there needs to be new models developed within the union to understand the interests of crowd workers and represent them in an appropriate way. Obviously, if you're a crowd worker in the current model, you're usually solo-selbstständig, independent contractor, not an Arbeitnehmer, not an employee, so you don't actually have Mitbestimmungsrecht. So what does that mean? How do we go forward, right? We're working with workers, platform operators, clients in the big German companies, and also with policymakers, with Gesetzgeber, because they're, of course, very interested, okay, what does this new model of employment mean for the welfare state, for the Sozialstaat? Is Sozialversicherung, Rentenversicherung, ist das überhaupt nachhaltig? Can we actually have a welfare state if the whole basis of the welfare system, which is the employment relationship, is going to change? And then the next question is, okay, how are we going to use what we have built and build it further, and then work with workers and platform operators and also other unions internationally with policymakers in Germany? What is the important knowledge and who are the important stakeholders and how can we all go together? So that's one thing. A second thing is we're having discussions with German platform operators, and they're very interested in working with unions because they don't want to destroy the welfare state, and they don't want to destroy Mitbestimmung. They actually want to contribute to bringing Mitbestimmung further, right? What is Mitbestimmung 2.0? What would it look like to have digitalische ermöglicht Mitbestimmung? What would it mean if we can all sort of collaborate together, employees, Solo-Selbstständige, Unternehmer, Arbeitgeber, Gewerkschaften? What are the needs of workers in general? And what are good models that we can develop together to fulfill those needs? So I left California and came to Germany because the IG Metall offered me a job, and I thought it was very interesting. I think that there's actually a really important opportunity in Europe, and especially in Germany, because the unions are strong. There's a strong labor law system. There's a strong tradition of co-determination, Mitbestimmung, to actually develop a more socially sustainable or more socially progressive or socially innovative software industry or Silicon Valley, right? If you can imagine Silicon Valley, but what is a European style Silicon Valley, right? What is a Silicon Valley that's technically innovative but also socially responsible? Because in Silicon Valley in the USA, we're starting to see now the consequences of all of the innovation in Silicon Valley that is only focused on technology and money. Right? And so what are the consequences? Well, we look at Airbnb. Everybody loves Airbnb. But in San Francisco, the prices for rent are going up and up and up because people who have apartments are renting them out constantly on Airbnb. So now only rich people can live in San Francisco. This is a big social problem. Does it mean that Airbnb should be illegal? No, not necessarily. But the problem is that Airbnb just does not want anything to do with the laws. And if somebody proposes a law to limit their activities, then they fund an advertising campaign to just say, no, we don't want any laws. So I think one of the things that the unions can work with, the startup scene, the German business community, regulators, and so forth, to develop is, okay, yes, technical innovation is fine, there's no problem with that, but how can we have a socially sustainable model that actually advances social participation in democracy, that mitigates the impact of economic inequality, which of course in the US we've seen is increasing only.